welcome to my channel. So today I read a story that was requested in the comments. So the title is Johnny Appleseed. So it's a long version, so I hope you listen as you fall asleep or relax. So let's get started. Long, long ago, in a peaceful land far away, there lived a gentle young man named Johnny. His real name was John Chapman, but people softly called him Johnny Appleseed. The land where he lived was wide and open. There were long rivers that moved slowly, and forests that whispered in the wind. In the early morning, the air was cool and soft. The grass was covered with tiny drops of water. They shined quietly in the gentle light. Johnny liked to walk in the early morning. He walked slowly with calm steps. He listened to the sound of birds singing. He did not wear shoes. His feet touched the earth softly. He liked to feel the ground beneath him. He wore simple clothes. They were old but clean and warm. Sometimes he wore a small pot on his head. People thought it looked a little funny, but Johnny did not mind at all. He smiled often. His smile was quiet and kind. Johnny loved nature very much. He loved the trees, the rivers, and the sky. He also loved animals. When he saw a small bird, he would stop and watch. When he saw a deer, he would stand very still. Good morning, he would whisper softly. The animals were not afraid of him. They could feel his gentle heart. One day, Johnny found something small on the ground. It was a tiny apple seed. He picked it up carefully. He looked at it for a long time. A small seed, he said quietly. But one day you will become a big tree. He held the seed in his hand. It felt light and full of quiet promise. Johnny thought about the future. He imagined a tree growing tall and strong. He imagined soft green leaves moving in the wind. He imagined red apples shining in the sunlight. People would come and rest under the tree. They would eat the apple and smile. That would be nice, Johnny said softly. From that day, Johnny began to collect apple seed. He kept them in a small bag. The bag rested gently at his side. When he walked, the seed made a soft sound, a quiet, gentle sound. Step by step, he walked across the land. He walked through green fields. He walked along quiet rivers. Sometimes the sky was bright and blue. Sometimes soft clouds moved slowly above him. And sometimes light rain fell from the sky. When it rained, Johnny did not hurry. He stood quietly and listened. The rain made a soft sound on the leaves. It felt cool on his skin. This is nice, he whispered. One afternoon, Johnny found a quiet place near a river. The water moved slowly. It made a soft, peaceful sound. He looked around carefully. "This is a good place," he said. The ground was soft and rich. The sun reached the earth gently. Johnny knelt down. He took one small seed from his bag. He placed it in the earth. Then he covered it with soft soil. He pressed the ground gently with his hand. "Sleep well," he whispered. The wind moved softly through the trees. The river continued its quiet song. Johnny sat there for a while. He watched the place where he planted the seed. He did not rush. He simply sat and breathed slowly. After some time, he stood up. "I will come back someday," he said. Then he began to walk again. Step by step, with a small bag of seed and a quiet dream in his heart. The sun slowly moved across the sky. The day became soft and golden, and Johnny continued his gentle journey. The next morning came quietly. A soft light filled the sky. The air was cool and calm. Johnny opened his eyes slowly. He had slept under a tall tree. The leaves above him moved gently. They made a soft whispering sound. He sat up and looked around. "Good morning," he said softly. A small bird was sitting on a branch nearby. It tilted its head as if listening. Johnny smiled. He stood up slowly and stretched his arms. Then he picked up his small bag of seeds. The seeds made a faint, comforting sound. Step by step, he began to walk again. The path was narrow and quiet. Tall grass brushed softly against his legs. Far away, he could see a small house. Thin smoke rose into the sky. "Someone lives there," Johnny whispered. He walked toward the house slowly. As he came closer, he saw a woman outside. She was hanging clothes in the gentle wind. The clothes moved softly like white clouds. Johnny stopped a short distance away. He did not want to surprise her. "Hello," he said in a calm voice. The woman turned and looked at him. For a moment, she seemed a little surprised, but then she saw his gentle face. "Oh, hello," she replied softly. "You must be traveling." Johnny nodded. "Yes," he said. "I walk and plant Appleseed." The woman looked at him with quiet curiosity. "Appleseed?" she asked. Johnny opened his small bag. He showed her the tiny seeds inside. "One day they will become trees," he said. "They will give fruit to anyone who comes." The woman smiled a little. "That is very kind," she said. There was a short peaceful silence. The wind moved softly between them. Would you like some water? She asked. Johnny nodded gently. Thank you. She brought him a small cup of cool water. Johnny held it carefully. The water was clear and fresh. He drank slowly. It is very good, he said quietly. The woman seemed happy. My husband built this house, she said. We came here not long ago. Johnny listened carefully. There are not many trees yet, she continued. We hope this land will become a warm place. Johnny looked around. The land was wide and open. The soil looked soft and rich. This is a good place, he said. He paused for a moment. May I plant a seed here? The woman's eyes grew soft. Yes, she said. I would like that very much. Johnny walked a little way from the house. He chose a quiet spot. The sunlight touched the ground gently. He knelt down slowly. From his bag, he took one small seed. He placed into the earth. Then he covered it with soft soil. His hands moved carefully and calmly. Grow well, he whispered. The woman watched him in silence. The moment felt still and warm. After he finished, Johnny stood up. He looked at the woman and smiled. One day, this tree will give you apples, he said. You can rest under its shade. The woman placed her hand over her heart. Thank you, she said softly. Johnny bowed his head a little. Then he turned and began to walk again. Step by step, he moved along the quiet path. Behind him, the small seed rested in the earth. Days passed slowly. Johnny walked through many places. Sometimes he met kind people. Sometimes he walked along for a long time. But he never felt lonely. The wind was always with him. The trees listened quietly. One evening, the sky turned soft and orange. Johnny came to a small village. Children were playing near the road. Their laughter was light and clear. Johnny stopped and watched them. A small boy noticed him. Hello, the boy called out. Johnny raised his hand gently. Hello, he replied. The children came closer. They looked at his simple clothes. They looked at the small pot on his head. One girl giggled softly. You look funny, she said. Johnny laughed quietly. Maybe I do, he said. The children smiled. What are you carrying? The boy asked. Johnny opened his bag. Appleseed, he said. The children leaned in closer. So small. One of them whispered, Johnny nodded. Yes, he said, but they can become big trees. The children looked at each other. Really? They asked. Johnny smiled. Yes, would you like to see? They nodded excitedly. Johnny walked to a quiet place nearby. Children followed him. He knelt down slowly. Watch carefully, he said. He placed a seed into the earth. Then he covered it gently. This is how it begins, he said. The children watched in silence. The wind moved softly around them. One day, Johnny continued. This will be a tree. A tree, the girl whispered. With many apples, Johnny said. The children smiled. That's amazing, the boy said. Johnny looked at them kindly. You can plant seeds too, he said. You can grow something beautiful. The children nodded. The sun slowly disappeared. The sky became deep and quiet. Thank you, the children said. Johnny bowed his head gently. Good night, he replied. Then he walked away, step by step into the soft evening. The stars began to appear in the sky, and somewhere behind him, a small seed rested in the earth, waiting quietly for tomorrow. Seasons began to change. The warm days of summer slowly passed, and the air became a little cooler. The warm days of summer slowly passed, and the air became a little cooler. Johnny continued his gentle journey. Step by step, he walked across the land. His small bag of seeds rested quietly at his side. In some places, he walked again after many days. He returned to the quiet river where he had planted his very first seed. The water still moved slowly. It made the same soft, peaceful sound. Johnny stood there for a moment. Then he looked down at the ground. Something small had changed. A tiny green sprout was reaching up. It was very small, but it was alive and strong. Johnny knelt down slowly. He looked at the little sprout with warm eyes. You are here, he whispered. The leaves were soft and bright. They moved gently in the wind. Johnny smiled. Thank you for growing, he said quietly. He did not touch it too much. He only watched it for a while. The sun shined softly from above. The river continued its calm song. Johnny sat beside the sprout. He closed his eyes for a moment. He listened to the sound around him. The wind, the water, the quiet breath of the earth. Time passed slowly. After a while, Johnny stood up again. Grow slowly, he said. I will come back someday. Then he began to walk once more. Far away, in the small place near the house, another seed had also begun to grow. The woman sometimes walked outside in the morning. She looked at the ground where Johnny had planted the seed. One day, she saw it. A small green sprout. "Oh," she whispered. She knelt down beside it. Her hands were careful and gentle. "It is growing," she said softly. She called her husband. He came and stood beside her. They both looked at the small plant. "It is still very young," he said. "Yes," she replied, "but it is strong." They began to care for it little by little. They made sure the soil stayed soft. They watched it as the days passed. The sprout slowly became taller. Its leaves opened wide to the sky. Seasons continued to change. Summer became autumn. The leaves on the trees turned soft colors: red, orange, and gold. Johnny walked through quiet forest. The ground was covered with fallen leaves. They made a soft sound under his feet. He stopped sometimes and looked up. The sky was clear and deep. "This is beautiful," he whispered. As time passed, more and more small trees began to grow. In different places across the wide land, Johnny's seeds were waking up. Some were still very small. Some were growing stronger each day. And in the village where the children lived, the small seeds they planted began to grow too. The children visited it often. "Look, it's bigger," one of them said. "Yes," another replied. "It's getting taller." They watched it with bright eyes. "It will become a tree," the boy said proudly. They remembered Johnny's gentle voice. They remembered the quiet moment when the seed touched the earth. Winter slowly came. The air became cold and still. Snow began to fall softly from the sky. It covered the ground like a white blanket. Johnny walked slowly through the snow. His breath was soft and visible in the cold air. He wore the same simple clothes, but he did not seem troubled. He moved calmly as always. Sometimes he stopped and looked around. The world was quiet, very quiet. "This is peaceful," he whispered. Under the snow, the small seeds and young trees rested. They slept quietly in the cold earth. Johnny knew this. "They are sleeping," he said softly. "They will wake again." One evening, he found a quiet place under a tree. Snow rested gently on the branches. Johnny sat down slowly. He looked up at the sky. The stars were bright and still. He took a slow breath. His heart felt calm. I am not alone, he whispered. The wind moved softly around him. Even in the cold night, there was a gentle warmth in his heart. Far away, in many quiet places, small trees rested under the snow. And deep inside the earth, life waited patiently, waiting for the soft return of spring. Winter slowly passed. The cold air softened little by little. The snow began to melt quietly. Drop by drop, water returned to the earth. Then, one morning, the air felt different. It was soft. It was warm. The spring had come. Johnny walked along a quiet path. The ground was no longer white. Small green plants were beginning to appear. He stopped and looked around. The trees were waking up. Tiny birds rested on their branches. They held the promise of new life. Johnny smiled softly. Welcome back, he whispered. He walked to the place by the river. The small sprout he had seen before was no longer small. It had grown taller. Its branches were thin but strong. Its leaves were fresh and bright. Johnny stood very still. You have grown, he said gently. The wind moved through the leaves. They made a soft, happy sound. Johnny reached out his hand. He did not touch the tree. He only felt the air around it. Thank you, he said quietly. Days passed. The buds on the trees slowly opened. Soft white flowers appeared. They were small and delicate. They moved gently in the spring breeze. Johnny walked from place to place. Everywhere he went, he began to see the same quiet change. Small trees were becoming stronger. Branches were reaching up to the sky. And then, after some time, something new began to appear. Tiny green apples. They were very small at first. They hid quietly among leaves. Johnny saw them and smiled. You did it, he whispered. In the small place near the house, the woman and her husband also saw the change. Their tree had grown tall. Its branches were full of soft leaves, and among them, small apples had appeared. Oh, the woman said softly. She touched one of the leaves. They are here. Her husband stood beside her. He looked up at the tree. It is beautiful, he said. They waited patiently. The apples slowly grew bigger. Their color began to change, from green to a soft warm red. One day, the woman picked an apple. She held it in her hands. It was round and smooth. She took a small bite. The taste was fresh and sweet. Her eyes grew soft. It's wonderful, she whispered. She looked at the tree again. Thank you, she said quietly. In the village, the children gathered around the tree. It has apples, one of them said. They looked up with excitement. Can we try one? The girl asked. A grown-up nodded gently. Yes, they said. The children picked a small apple together. They shared it. It's sweet, the boy said. They laughed softly. This is from the seed, the girl said. Yes, another replied. The one Johnny planted. They remembered him, his calm voice, his gentle smile. Far away, Johnny continued walking. He did not stay in one place. He moved slowly with the same quiet steps. Sometimes people saw him. They welcomed him kindly. Thank you for the trees, they said. Johnny only smiled. I only planted seeds, he replied softly. But the people knew it was more than that. He had planted kindness. He had planted hope. Years passed. The small trees became big. They gave shade in the summer. They gave fruit in the autumn. People rested under them. They shared apples with family and friends. And every time they did, they remembered the gentle traveler. Johnny's steps became slower with time, but his heart stayed the same. Quiet, kind, full of warmth. One evening, under a soft golden sky, Johnny sat beneath a tree. It was one of the trees that had grown from his seeds. The leaves moved gently above him. The air was calm. Johnny looked around. He saw trees in the distance, many trees. They stood quietly across the land. A soft smile came to his face. So many, he whispered. He closed his eyes slowly. The wind touched his face. It felt soft and peaceful. Thank you, he said one last time. The world around him was quiet, very quiet, but full of life. And even after Johnny was gone, trees continued to grow. Season after season, year after year. They stood in the sunlight, they moved in the wind. They gave apples to anyone who came. And somewhere in the gentle sound of leaves, people felt his kindness. A quiet kindness that never faded. So the story is finished. So in Japan, this story is not so famous, but when I look it up, I remembered that I have read this this in a Disney picture book when I was a child, so I felt very nostalgic. So if you have any request, leave the comment. So thank you for watching. Good night.